Mani Padme Hong Re Om 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 Mani Padme Hong Re Gewande Nyurduda Chereze Wanduyone Rowa Chikamanumba Deye Salangoma Sho. Thank you, Rinpoche.
사단남제 연대라도나 도제 장가고요 뭐 공조선데 샤자 생겨야 돼 맞은지 벌바다니 저거다 조반로리 되네 르럽접들 라마로와데 공조선제 맞은 바랑 하고 와서 접대 잡아야도 되는 저도메데 봐주자 나위 잡라서 와데 나지는 다데 제가네 급제단이 라마 제모나 가진다 뭐 잡다 도니 저도 선절 다제도 저도 대매점들 나들나들 뭐냐 단단 진인 거저 저거 침이 도진 정라서 와데 뭐 가다 주ян다 벌다 벌러를 되지 시도지 거를 그녀들 이제 라마저 처럼 도지 잡라서 와데 들어서 와 봐지 와 도몽임 좀 자세 처리 좀 상하 자매념린 사종의 돈이 매매를 이제 봐줘 소좀 동안 저러 지제지 약속 매번 요월지 라서 접지도 되는데 다지나 담바 주제는다 다도소 드니 텔레베는디 르파이시 접반데 바라다 페나 차바다 대발라 티니 사촉 심지 퍼바텔라 르파이시게 제담네 자롱라서 봐 냠설랑네 마다반 타와 담제 딱발에 전에 알레 롱주도 보고서 자류라서 반도베 제 데이터도 냠설링게 대양배라 르파이시 티토브레 티타브르파 알레 도지존 티토브벨라 자롱라서 봐 냠설링게 요레 테르티네 롱주도 보고 탐게 네.
장죽심 간데스모
장죽심 벌바. 왜는 마다바다 뉴몬반도 차라서 봐대. 답변 나와는 전. 텔레스 빠이시게 지에테버와. 왜나 뉴몬바 강내 텔레스 빠이시 테버와. 뉴몬바.
당고 공리시과 예시 불바 데블록 송송.
예, 빠이시게 뉴몬바 버와. 디는 뉴몬바 카카카카 세우나 근데 척바도 나와 가가를 세나 척바라 뛰는 자롱고 담바가 뛰는 되니 양배나 노차 대와 김비실이 좀 자롱 거거든요. 되더라. 사족 생겨 벌바송 가서 송티다. 뒤걸로 자롱고 걸. 그래 가까치 영어가. 나와라 뛰는 배나 다디 치마 제지 벌바 노지는 대 봐지. 당당 노지 탐지 다다 배는 거. 시당 냠슬리 봐라. 시당 끼지 가자 그랬더니 다다 제지 벌바 냠리 제바. 도차진 이제 가자게 산축 생존법을 냠린세바 송티를 가자 다들 그거 되는 냠들 인제서 특특기로
The kilaya of self-awareness or timeless awareness can be used in different forms to counteract different afflicting emotions. In order to in order to dispel the afflicting emotion of attachment, the same kilaya of timeless awareness can be used as the kilaya of bodhicitta. The kilaya of nga yaqo gotsu mindarumsi. Zalung ki nyamlen chi yorwal. Di changchuk sem ki purpadirwa.
ri sanchuk sem di dondam sanchuk sem kodop sanchuk sem yer kodop sanchuk sem luge tile te lulang so ne be be tata tile te jungji ke yore nyumong khowa ge jo zo yore tini te la pe na do cha da shi yo nyam de se ne tini zalung nyam se lang na tini yong ti ji ba ni ke yore 무슨 다다 산초 템데 말로 루그 틀레 산초 템게 다른 다다디 무슨 릴라니베 틀레다 산초가 셈인 레와 가리리지라 틀레데 변라 용티지나 마냠나데 틀레네 용티지베 이제레 올레 셈라 데와 이나 제와야 니니 용고요레 룰 데와는 셈라 제와 용고요레 변라 올레 달라티네들이 똑바 24개 요래 체른게 요래 올레 감동 왕볼라 저반 달라티네 베네더니 잘리 토버잖아 틀레리티네 용거 요래 근데 냠촌에 용들이 중삼지 메차바 베네더니 다 나타다 체다 와살라 저바 쯤망보 송고 요래 될라 디네더니 다다 눈이 되는 룰을 틀리는데 요나 되는 가와다 대와 사족 체부람 이는 제와야 될때네 용구요래 변나 뭐 되니까라기 눈에다 당고 사족 체부 공제다 루게 틀리는 제와 체부 요래 되게 사족 체 따요래 근데 너 담제 접당 되는 변는데 파파이라다 갑제 들신데 뭐 저거 고요래 뒤는 저거 찡 남슬랑다나 저걸 찡 남슬랑다 양찡 걸고 차참 공부 용수도 봐 배우니 봐 랩톱이 요래 변라 원래 이제 카카카카 말이야 파파도 계리지 양지지도 계리지 답변 사리리리리 삼카장이 조지 아티차가 소와 대나게 남슬랑나 드니 디탐지 니는 양냠니 참 펄펄냠니 찍고는 누구요래 드니 사건도 펄빠데 때다 작품 처리에다 제주 펄빠 거라 간장 시에요래 디나니 안고서제 똑바로 대처를 잡으러 가시더니 괜히도 대탐지 똑바로 좀 싸워는 제야요 말에 강의들을 빼라 똑바로 좀 강의들 만남 하다니 무슨 대화도 네 동에서 잘지 다양한 세사도 답사들이 시에도 상 들이 똑바로도 찌여래 제가 지금 늘라래 말류 생긴 군제 공조쟁이 사진 생긴 답제 공다를 오늘 뇌디 봉제 매제 좀 될하다 뇌 담비 생긴 말외지 들이 좋아져요래 제 카요마 들이 다 똑바요래 디듬 싸못한 거래지 디듬 때서 가사고 제고
So in this case, the kilaya of bodhicitta means the drop in our body, the tigle. In order to dispel attachment within the nature of the timeless awareness, you use the particular kilaya of bodhicitta. In this practice involves the practice of channels and winds. And through this practice, all impure states of mind are transformed into purified states of mind. And that is a special cause to attain the level of Sambhogakaya. And if you are somebody with intense anger, if that is your dominant afflicting emotion, then within the context of timeless awareness, within that nature, the best, most appropriate practice is that of the kilaya of material. Yeah. The kilaya of material or substance is the actual scepter, the Vajra dagger, which is made of metals and wood, like explained yesterday. Between the mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta and the drop that we have in our body, there is a very close connection. When drop in our body is intact, when it is not lost, then it becomes the basis of all great qualities. becomes the basis of the physical bliss, and it also becomes the source of the feeling of loving kindness. The presence of this drop in the body gives you clearer realization, and it is also a source of energy that makes your life longer, and it gives clarity to your sense faculties. And this is also one of the main causes which enable you to attain the rainbow body. But if this drop is lost, if it is misused, then in the absence of this drop, there can be kinds of sicknesses, and that can also cause one to be powerless. That can also make one without any authority over things. So the drop is naturally something blissful, which is the nature of bodhicitta. For this reason, it has a very close bond with bodhicitta, and therefore it is named as bodhicitta, the drop. There are 8 herukas, but all these 8 herukas are one and the same in essence. Practicing one of the herukas is equivalent to practicing all the rest 7. They are not totally different beings. They are one and the same, like Atisha has said. Within the practice of Vajrakilaya, there are elements of all other 7 herukas. The Vajrakilaya practice is particularly connected with the wrathful activities. Yesterday, while explaining the Kilaya of substance, I talked about subduing hostile beings. At that point, a lot of disciples got doubt and confused, because sometimes we talk about all sentient beings as being our own mother. And then suddenly we hear about using this practice to subdue and kill and destroy. So it becomes a kind of confusion. But in fact, they are not contradictory to each other, these 2 statements. There's a very famous prayer in which we talk about the Buddha being somebody who is the Lord of all sentient beings without exception. And right after that, saying that, we again say, Buddha, you are the one who destroys all demons, including their horde, including their retinues. So that second statement sounds like contradicting the first statement. In the first statement, you addressed the Buddha as being somebody who is kind and compassionate to all sentient beings. In the next instance, talk about the Buddha being somebody who destroys all demons, and all demons are also sentient beings.
Sana doji du tabanyila shebar tanda tamyang yo mare semji tamche semdang du jirek tamche sem dirchi ni mo tikpare jigdene nyu momba la role nyu momba top chane be ko dini sotam mebe ne ta be jerde te tamche te jendo konsul jomke wala jene 지와 체람을 타와 매바가 드리 레사 그요 대남게 유몽발이 들어코요 그래 되나 돌을 가만도 그래 다좀 사지살래 lep고요 그래 dirchik jing mo ngun du chupa che yo re phwa ga dale je pa na tu de pe dale thong ni di shina ning je ga dra ke yo ri ma ne shedang ga dra ke yo ma re te ka tan so ning ji dra ba tam chak de se jing ni pa ma yin de so ju ge chik de re ona pe na ta pe kang de o chu to tam je rang ngap sa ga le tan de la ti ni 담주 산쪽도 가봐 담주 쪽에 되면 밀리터로 주도 기와 냠슬이 듣고 요래 야다 뉴바지나 다고 답이요마 고가 그 마치게들 레메기 왔다고나 데라 마다 제라서 봐라 떼네 올래 고 동네들 좀 남매 봐라 쪽에 레다 박차래 드론네들이 고 올래 드니 남치 산지서 생자르고 도지용로 야요면 세에서 결래더니 올래 답이사는 요구요래 쉐당 자와니 말에 되니를 제발 자와니 요 말에 원래 심진 코발을 들어와들라 심진이 담게 건 제바다 뒤 조바니게 다 잡았더니 뒤다 되니 가다 자와니 요 말에 뒤더니 다음 조도 따와 좋아요나 지나 조리 배나 도방은이 세고 그래 ngāki shitūku chidhara, shējire, solo tōkpayo nā, shēgore.
The Buddha taught sentient beings like ourselves the law of cause and effect, karma and result. And Vajrapani subdued those beings who were hostile to beings who were like demons. Both of these activities have one and the same meaning, one and the same purpose. Buddha being a teacher of cause and effect, and Vajrapani being a subduer. There are sentient beings who are extremely strong in afflicting emotions. The level of afflicting emotion is very thick, and there is no antidote for them because of the intensity of the afflicting emotion. And because of that, they engage in such non-virtuous deeds which can keep them in samsara for uncountable time. In that kind of situation, the activity of liberating, it is called, actually it means killing, takes place. It is not actually separating that person from his life with the body, but it is actually separating the person from his or her afflicting emotions. It is a way of giving liberation to that kind of person who is completely lost in afflicting emotions. Therefore, it is an action of compassion, and it is very important to know that. Now, every one of you had great karmas in the past, and that is why you're having the 18 great qualities of a precious human being, and you have the opportunity to practice the Dharma. But there are other beings who do not have any of these qualities, who are completely occupied by confusion and ignorance, and they doubtlessly indulge in non-virtuous acts because of their ignorance. And if they remain in that condition, then they become a samsaric being who will be like wandering in samsara endlessly. So when such ignorant beings are liberated to the wrathful activity, their consciousness become uplifted, and finally they become the son or daughter of Vajrakilaya. So it is like liberating their mind from the afflicting emotions through the act of extreme compassion. It is not killing, but it is liberating. If you have more question about this, you can raise.
Teni dadi drova telaya te mangbo yore. Se drova, nang drova, sam drova pena. Ti tongda ya wo ha ko gore. Kang ne 당고 네 대충 종나라 송어리 랑양 콜버 송어리 징바 이제 뒤에 사야 세 쪽발 넣지 당보 랑 콜버 청와래 돌고 그래 랑 콜버 청와 강리지라 나지 이디가 똑반 되래지 나지 이디가 똑반 되면은 샘대식 좀 오래 통송나 따와 콘데 예미 원래 ngolo chiga tawa tola. Kondo zangpa molana ye tamche iye chigre dite hakong re. Di tawa la ngishi chile ole. Semchi tamche le dirchik jingbo yopa nguse ole. Nekam churpa wangda daji nyi mato. Dongla daji nyi sa madrpa te hakola. Ta danji nyi zingla dora re. Te tawa tambo 또 드니 용 드니 곰 다 땡바 타오나 대답을 가다 되게 다 난드로가 뉴몽바 탐제 빼라 어레 라사 돌레데 뉴몽바 이싱가라 다 드로고요 레 빼라 라지 탐제 고발레 돌랑 돌리마테 돈데 트러블 라면 동데 빼라 이 탐제 트러블 탑 어레 탑당 양념라도 동부요래. 대답은 나지 니들래. 다 나지 니가 dor쳐 봐래. 당고 난 싸움랑 나지래 tor. 니들래 똑바로 tor. 바르데 지탐제 유목은 정말에 dor쳐 봐. 들이 차라. 들이서 늘당 공부라서 봤더니 신체 잡아 잡을 탐제라. 들이 체미 번 경제 체벌을 되네. 따다라 빼라. 다 나지 퍼베지 골라. 살네다 베네 다지고 다 니빠르다 다 초바 다르타바 다 드리니 봐 제고 요래지 사이더와 당고 낭리랑 니들이 정말에 tor 근데 바드 진탑이 유모번 정말에 тор다 봐 원래 드리세 다 무슨더니 들어가 담제 드리네 대답을 선왕랑 숨숨숨숨 상하 도제테 줘봐들 요래
랑라와디 치달와라
당보 남니 니들이 정말 тор배나
디랑
콘데
치르
따와 콘데 예미 당보 낭 따와 콘데 예미 또 봐대 낭그 들어와라 랑 코와를 들어와라 드니 랑 코와를 들어오나 드니
하고
이 로마탑지 있는데 봐 유목을 따와래 로그요가 니디네 다 유목을 들어타고요라 드니 세다고 들어가와 탐제 드니 빼나 다 무슨 웅주 잡고 웅주를 내지네 다 레비건 틀레라 되네 dorte patata ni de blesum de la ole hla de de tang pu rang ni de to ne tani te ngo ra ko so
digos de chinang sangsum kantina la chu
sum tang bu rang ge sem mo to go le ni di jwa zhong kon de ye mi do ole sa ji sim ji ji le ji ma xi go ba ji ji ba de ha ko ta rang dorte ba rang ko do ba 대 로트는 이 탐지를 내가 보다 로마 탐지에나 배라 다 뉴몽부 정말 로트고요. 제 남기로 와라. 싸와 남 드니치 남이 세요. 싸와 당원랑 또 드니 남이 뉴몽바 다다 로트는 이 로마 탐지라 배토고요. 드니 시 다들 그 큐르테 밤에와 다 배는 그 진짜 타고 잡고 라서 와다. 이 세 들어가 되니 무슨 다 잡고 오고 제당 마당
Separating a being with extreme non-virtue is being from her afflicting emotion is called dalwa in Tibetan, which means killing. And dalwa literally means liberating or separating. So this has three aspects: the outer liberating, the inner liberating, and the secret liberating. The secret liberating is the liberation of one's own mind from the afflicting emotions. For example, in the booklet of the 37 practices of Bodhisattva, one of the items says that the worldly gods cannot protect sentient beings because they are themselves bound in samsara. So in order to liberate others, to perform the action of liberating others, first of all, one has to liberate oneself. So, if one has to liberate oneself, from whom should we be liberated? It's from our own notion of self and other. The notion of I being there as opposed to you and others. So, in the true nature of mind, when one is abiding, there remains no distinction between samsara and nirvana. All dualistic perceptions become invalid in that state. And that is all about the one base, as said in the Samantabhadra prayers. Why do we have this conception of self and others? Why do we have this dualism? It's because of confusion. It is not a reality, it is a confusion. So the secret liberation is liberating our own mind from these dualistic thoughts. When the nature of mind is seen as being free from dualism, it has to be fully realized, experienced, and it has to be perfectly familiarized. That can be done, then all afflicting emotion can arise as the five wisdoms. At this point, when one is liberated from the dualistic thoughts, then that is the time one can help other to get rid of the same discursive thought, same dualistic thinking. So first liberate yourself from the perception of self and other, and then try to liberate others by performing these kind of wrathful activities out of immeasurable compassion. Dirwala. Tambo samadi suso doyaje. ene nangdi yen doya je chi di kare
se da drap ben di timba no xing je chang 진짜 타와요라.
Nang the Sura.
아?
Nang.
나는 소소 유모바 라지 탐지 유모바 여러가. 당부 따온 뭐마 더 당부 따온 소소 따온 뭐 투나. 이 라지 이게 유모바다 드로고. 난 유모바 드로가.
Okay, I have to
싸와니 센드로고래. 네, 싸와니 나는도 나니 살란도더니. 난 다다 로마 탐지 빼나 저코르치가 ramji 빼나 탐지 사다 가면 저코르치가 콜와. 다들 탐지 로마 탐지 유모발 돌네 빼나 저코르치가 코데가 어때든 메들이 서로 뒤땅 동보 서로 지와대 가래. 고조디 따와로 봐. 마다 봐. 달아서 봐디 진짜 타와데 저기 띵바시바 산지 띵바시바 샘지데기도 따따따 무슨 샘지 탐시를 내봤다와 내가 탐지 들어가와 담배 취를 빼라 대반 매와 뭐도 따와로 봐 탐지 대는 따따따 유다 탑 망보 열에 내가 탐지에나 강연나 되나 플라직도 가직은 되게 누구예지라 대양 되게요 말이 미소 속에 제람 마마게 라게 냠슬라니 체랍 예단 플라데들이 다 따야 어레들이 핀바요 미게 딱 플라 장이요 말이 플라 장이요 말이 플라 소속에디 틀리 쪼르드 제발 가시리 세번 틀리 쪼르드 말이 배나 도르지스 바다면 세번 틀리 쪼르드 말이 올레 자와르가네 리리 이게 자와르가데 진종님이 예번 틀리 쪼르드 말 배나 퍼빠네 그냥 사지에 탐지는 틀리겠지 거기 말이야 틀리는 아니 잡고 내 쪼르드 말이 되게 되니까 입생 방송을 나서 봐 되니 퍼빠라 되네 잡고 틀리 쪼르드 말이
The secret way of liberating is liberating your mind from dualistic conceptions, and the inner way of liberating is trying to help other sentient beings do that. And the outer way of liberating is actually performing the wrathful activities on sentient beings who are guilty with the 10 heinous crimes. And those who cannot be tamed by dharma, those who cannot be, taught. So to liberate such beings out of great compassion, you can perform the activities of liberating or killing. And that is actually not killing, it is liberating out of infinite compassion. There are different kinds of tantras and different methods of practicing in those tantras. But they are all essentially one and the same. Then if you think, in that case, is it okay to have only one deity? Although one deity embodies all other deities, it is necessary to have all this great number of deities and their practices, because there are sentient beings with various dispositions, and each practitioner can have a special connection with special deity, and that connection can be from former lives. Because of that, the number of deities we have is important. The deities are all equal in quality. They are not better than, and each one of them is not like better than the other. However, different deities are specialized in different activities. Vajrasattva is specialized in accomplishing peaceful activities. Ratnasambhava is specialized in accomplishing the activity of increasing. And Vajrakilaya is specialized in accomplishing the overall activities of enlightened beings, especially the wrathful activities.
Then the top tamji sanji dig took young dean bella. Go at it. Hatan comes down on bella. Kang sanji tamji that to some sanji, do some just sanji tamji took you kick the or last of woman Nagani. The book up the land did it on the Tamagatoba. Ole. They change him married. They marching at the flag the top Kang Yamson long getting Gavayo married. They can't flag on top Mambo, Luna, flat of the two sort is somewhat on the pillar. Meaning the city don't buy drama Mambo Yurid. Ole. Zog drama, the Lord drama Mambo Yurid. Nanga sim the changing more the Jigger hard. Some the changing more the chapar your married. 대신에 다는 공리제 바제다. 상지 심지니가 대신에 뭐 예측이 되는 것도 상적을 섬이오매 삼중제 요매 그들이 빼놓고 상지에다 심지가 제발 대해 빼나 대동 사탐지 독의 돈이 된 기재 성적이 라건 멈타지 겁네요. 투도의 직방이 배서나 올래. 라 이제는 직방이 자대 세금도 삼지 이 잘로 라는 거 바강데 되는 문제 내면 가요 되는 접라지 올래 제발요. 누구 간자를 제발요. 라는 또 최종의 바시요. 제발요 말에 되나. 다다 가시를 제발은 연구 놓지 봐. 강은 연구지. 지야 문이란 거 제발요 봐. 양검요 봐. 뒤다고 오 가시는 거를 보지 거를 보지 않대 봐요. 가시 돈바 사지 좀 되들 때 봐요. 안 거를 보지 때 봐매. 들이때 다다 담매배 나와 소소하게 양공 혼자 박차라 지네 다다 연구요래면 돈다 거를 보지를 사지 좀 되지 투도 찍바래. 제 마치 뒤숨지 사지 담지 투주 찍바래. 산쪽 생을 짜와는 저와요 말에 원래 산쪽 생을 만원 가다니 배 세비 담지 대와다 네 동에서 잘 저와요 말에 원래 요마키는 가당 담보 세비 담지 대와다 네 동에서 잘시 다들 세사에 답사에 동사에 시행도 드리고와 차를 때 짜와는 말이 산쪽 생을 저와요 말 시제 왕다 레 위에서 레 강치에는 산쪽 생을 저와요 말 뒤동다 아마도
In one single practice of one deity, there is the method to accomplish the qualities of all Buddhas. When you are relying on one deity and practicing it, that one deity embodies all the thousands of deities that ever exist. Reason for that is because even though there are thousands of deities, they have the same mind, the same life. Between the Buddha nature of all these deities, there is no distinction. They are in the same quality, in the same nature. At the level of Buddha nature, there is no distinction even between the Buddhas and sentient beings. The only difference is that the Buddha's mind is in loving kindness and compassion, in bodhicitta, and the sentient being's mind is without it. Practicing million of deity is equivalent to practicing one deity fully. So if you wonder, why then should we practice, different deities? Why should we have these varieties? The variety is necessary because sentient beings have special affinity with special deities. And this affinity comes from your connection with these deities in the past. For instance, for some people, practicing with the visualization of Guru Rinpoche is very effective. And for some people, it is not very effective. And for some people, practicing by visualizing the Buddha is exceptionally inspiring and effective. But for some people, it is not the same. Why these kind of differences are there? It's because of the karmic connection with the deity. So all this distinction appear because of the practitioner, not because the deities are different in qualities or strength. Guru Padmasambhava and the Lord Buddha is one and the same in essence. Therefore, we usually say that the Buddhas of the three times are one and the same. In all kind of practices of whatever deity it is, the most essential thing to have is bodhicitta. It is indispensable in every practice. In the performance of wrathful activities, we hear about killing and chopping and beating up. But all these words are not, in essence, these are not in contradiction to bodhicitta. In all four activities, without bodhicitta, there is nothing to do. Bodhicitta is the bottom line of all these practices.
소소가디 냠절이 lokchorjinyoma nipa chikpares ti duptabla jebi ranage shirap chechongole tri khatang sungbanagi kansa rek drama dawa mangbo le tri tela duptabla shije wanda le jegole phapale dulok yasong ti kansa ijere kansa chekkinyamsala ne ya detar nyamsini chokuyore treje dukuyore pen di jerum je chapondri songoyore rangus honde ni je tawa semre semge nelok de jatawa ji dona dini la gang drum na yang pen ko sai ti ni shi yore chodang tomong ge ngudup sama 듣고 그래. 드니 대지 마시 라란주 봐. 라란주 봐는 오다 무슨 탐에 보면 이제 맨데 내린데 아메리카인데 캐나다인데 대리산에 대리겐 집에 또 봐주나. 그 라란주 봐대 배나. 못 보는 점 봐지. 강는데 지금이 다다 덥탑 완전 주바삼지 소소소소 열에 요라야 냠슬이 버까라 다른 시 바람지 라나 플라탐지가 토소이랑 그 잡을라면 톡당 예매 봐지 베르나 잡을라마데 딱섬꾼 뒤성 과장 niktinson 고게 무슨 라면 남겨가 배송 요래지 뭐 보태래지 그 라마래지 송지 담고 있던 코르트니 육가탄 주대 망보티나 밥 드니들라 라다 나다 기름라 소바 송 요래 와 대답은 냠처리 이제 라면다 망보 요래지 얘는 라디 투소 되다다 돈이 예매 예배라더니 잡으려면 톡대 돈이 니지 예미 사제된 데 와요 그래. 뒤선들이 잡으려면 톡고 송톡 용지 텔레그로 발 하거나 뒤사이 된지 돼서 시기 그래지. 드니 잠못하고 그랬어.
Earlier, we received teachings in empowerment on peaceful and wrathful deities, and then also of Chakrasambhara, and now Vajrakilaya. All these three practices are one and the same in terms of practicing. All of them have the same power, the same thing to accomplish. And these practices are suitable to persons with particular karmas and connections with the teachings. The practice of Vajrakilaya alone has 4 different practices within it for accomplishing the 4 activities. The root of samsara and nirvana is singular mind. And when that root is fully realized, then there is no distinction between the deity and yourself. When this realization dawns in the mind, that amounts to the supreme and ordinary siddhis or attainments. Considering you being something different from the deity and the deity being something different from you is fixation. So there are different empowerments and different tantras, and they are coming from different sources. However, they are all one and the same in essence. As a practitioner, the best way is to consider your root lama as the embodiment of the 3 roots. The mind of all deities and the mind of your root lama is indivisible. They are one and the same. Lord Jigten Sumgon has always said that the lama's body, speech and mind represents the 3 roots. There are various deities and mantras, but the essence of all of them is the indivisibility of emptiness and compassion.
라공 합대 탐치 갑니다. 라마가 용진 중전제 ndesungore 사자 정보고 꾸나 대 적신 갑이나 배나고 용진 탐jel람이 톡리 요요 배나 hla그 기름 드라마다 세와적 공리라 라마 텅적 공리 비용체에서 대 고아야 고서 마차를 고아 꼴로로 라마 리지 되게 내라고 이게 딱 발라마 되게요. 라마 냠도 돼요. 라마 이렇게 자식이요. 말에 서로 그 라마한테 총지 빼라 말해. 라마한테 샘지 성지 꼭 류대 견둥 송지 담기거나 라마한테 샘지 승부요 그래. 라마한테 샘지 낭 총자 동지 라마랑 샘지 원래 랑그 샘 대신 니고 가든 통나 다중은에 다 랑글라마 통요래지 대 양당 양대 될 공부 마송나 slago 망보도 몸을 sla디 소배 받아 그래. 그나 sla탑제 소도 돈이 인기 성종에 될 공이 해봐는 이제 데려와지. 그나 지소의 시송나 penna ji ha ge ju tham che ge long din ne de song yo le so dom zer ye song la de par se par ti so dom zer ye te drop tap sanning tham je te go yo le penna zer ye te ne te mala ri pe ta ba zer song le de tham che dong wo chi pa le so dom zer je ta ba ka le sai tu so ge zer ye tu so ge zer te rang ge sem te la rang sem de chik ni mo nam do me sem de ni ji yu go res nang la ma de res ti gwa re so ti san la tri chi pe di ba la ko tha ka pa se wa go ma be la ma li ji go ba la song de la tang bu la so de song go re sa ji pe de pe chi bo pe ma bo cha tu de pe chi bo chi chi pe chi bo chi la de ni go yo ku yo de pe la nang par de chi go de re
sok dom zer shi na khare
sok dom zer je ne tek chi se je sok dom zer je ne tek pa to she yo ma le sok dom zer je de da sok dom ko sai to so shi go ra so
dom ba
dom de ne pe ko tan chi go pe la so de ne pa tan ji mang po de cha de 근데 탑지 따와 가리리더라. 근데 탑지 미망우 소하고 오 sem직래. sem직도 하고 미 상만 그변 소하고 저러라. 그变得야래.变得한 그 sem군 오 동교도 다 소담을 그러거든. 메디 상만그 내로 하고 그걸 하고 말이 미 랑그 sem군 오 동교도 오 sem군 오도 미 상만 소직래. 다 변은 젠라고 변고 디 잘라 망보전에 때때보데 제마도 제르디에더니 무보시는 거다 내려와 랑그 세군 원통들 니는 미디강거리 저 참마게 세군 원 집발에 하고서 다 속도 공부하면 저 제르디 콘데니가 이제끼리들 다 문제 제르생을 해 원래 니선도 밤에 이러와 나도 세르요 집에는 동모를 망보도 녹대해지 동모치 모치라 뛰다 라라 빼 망보도 도와지 하나 너무 싸워더니 쳐질로 그랬더니 농부도 참아 제형을 와 싸워 찍으러 드리다고 콘데지가 빼 망보리지 천 남촌 이제라는 게 수도 마시나.
In the teachings of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, it is said that all great qualities can be achieved from the mind of the Lama, and it is even said that practicing the generation stage for 1,000,000 times is not equivalent to remembering the Lama for one time. This kind of statement is very profound in meaning. It doesn't mean just looking at the physical Lama is better than practicing the generation stage for 1,000,000 times. Here, Lama refers to the mind of the Lama. It does not refer to the body of the Lama. The mind of the Lama is exactly in the same condition as our Buddha nature. So therefore, the ultimate Lama is our own mindfulness, our own awareness of the Buddha nature. That is the Lama of meaning, the ultimate Lama. If that mindfulness is not there, which is the life of all deities, then even if you practice hundreds of deities, they are like without life. So the actual Lama is your own mind, which is permeated with great compassion and it free from all thoughts. That is the nature of mind, in which there is no distinction between self and others. In the Tantras, talks about uniting all lives and nailing it down. Uniting all lives means when you see the nature of your mind being naturally compassionate and empty, find that same nature in everyone, every sentient being. So it's a kind of uniting all in the same category. And that is very firmly stabilized in the mind, which is like nailing down, putting a nail. So we can see the various forms of samsara and various qualities of nirvana. These diversities have the same root. For example, on a tree, there are many branches and leaves, but when you put water on the root, that water reaches all branches, and that is because all these branches and leaves are in the same root. That is an example of the mind. Mind is from where samsara and nirvana manifest.
남카라 다와 찍 샤르데오나 초고 또다 주먹리는 다와리 샤르데오레 주먹리는 다와리 야 남카 다와티 디 다킹게 드라고나 베나 올레 초고 또다나 다와티 드브데오레 베나 대는 이런 게 생겨 내록대 하고는 되니 혼대 이게 생겨 내록대 하고나 드니 이제니 드니 다티가리 라군디 랑조치 되니 그 혼대 이거 타마 되니 하지 혼대에 퍼베징을 하고 고소 갔다 조티송도가 나지 탐지 퍼베징을 랑서 도는들이 퍼바 요 강에만 다고 대 도고 요래 또 빠르시발라 퍼펙트 콜로 또 시바에 강리지라 다다 우보를 펴고 선후진적대 낭주지 셈견들이 망보죠 저거나 양 셈그지 말해야지 좀 중글 내다 민중글 내니까 가장 원래 석신하고 가게 대탐견으로 거기 시거래 원래 오 되는 종킹이 셈도 쳤다나 콘데 니 셈들한 게다 셈들지 뭐 통진데 장이요 말이지 오 다티는 나디 콘데 탑지랑 그 셈시 되면은 오 다랑 그 셈을 그나 매와 다 있는데 봤다 매명하니 들이 다 무슨 dembar 마더나 다랑 그 강라 똥관이로 와 데르지 않으로 와 배차는 선거래 오 디디디 혈통탄데 들이 강곰라 람상 곰저래 막 참나 네 강반은 잡아매나 막점처럼 강반나는 유매 하고 말해 배티는지 당 계는 거라 대고래 해서 배나
In order to make the deities manifest in mind, the mind has to be free from defilements. In this world, there are thousands of rivers, and there's only one moon in the space. But the moon can reflect in all those 1,000 rivers. But when the moon is clouded, when it is hidden behind the cloud, then it doesn't appear in those rivers. In the same way, when our mind is clouded with dualistic conceptions, when we still have this distinction in mind between samsara and nirvana, these deities cannot appear in that mind. When the nature of mind is clearly seen as being free from dualism, then at that very moment, the whole world and sentient beings appear to be the mandala of Vajrakilaya. The world and sentient beings are production of the karmas of sentient beings. They are the production of karmas created in common and karmas created individually. By seeing the nature of mind, if one can realize the view of samsara and nirvana being indivisible, that kind of realization dispels the fixation of mind which believes everything to be real. So when these kind of fixations and graspings are not there, that is a very workable situation where all deities can be visualized. For instance, in this house, if you think it is a house with the walls and ceilings, then it becomes very limited. But if your mind is beyond those conceptions, then even if you are in this house, you do not really feel that you are in a house, you are confined in a house. You feel that spaciousness and expansiveness.
니 대다에 또나 지금 니 들이다 못 보는 점 같아 말이요. 못 보는 점 딘바리 선이 문득점이 될 남상하고 말이요. 딘디디 미좀 찾나. 니 세우랑 오늘 동대로 먹은 통대로. 니 다다다 무슨 딘디 미장도 무슨 하정 진 통제 선후지 대나 주세변 통고래. 니 때다 남서변나. 다 땡디지 세르지. 제리 발 땡이지 제르지나. 다 끼는 거기래. 람저변에 다 미디가 오늘 내가 가는 밤에는 이 맥던데 오는데 참아 지내야 되잖아. 람스랑 오늘 별때 하람께 시방 오늘 때 샹도래. 내 데리자는 밤에라. 때려지네들이 선후지 죽긴 담지 이제네 용왕아가 라미리. 용왕아데 뚫바다 그래. 오늘 임칭아야 라미 맹다나. 이제는 맞아봐 동반이리. 오늘 딱 빠른 줄. 근데 딱 보는 거 동반이 별라. 누지지에 대다 그래. 용왕을 좀 봐래. 낭주지 심기 탐지하다. Pukang Tam, Kata Shituka, no Trajana. Madabaka, Simpi, the Tapa yet in it, Ganita Padina, the Jenny distinct bona, neck up Jenny Mary. Three Jenny Tapari, Penna. Sanjay Stone, Simpi, Namna Sanjay, you won't a lower to me, Tata lower to Magoso, Danzi, Chatanga, that jumped over it. They all she let them. Meisutana, Simpi, Yen, Nang Semi and Tapa, Sepokan, Joanga, Ben Javaranga, younger Ramji, Davari, Chadi or the Jenny, Tapa, and Balatini, Yambara, Yambarchip and Gishi, what a lamb set in like in something. Dear Mapazet, thing is in Zenatani. Zeripare.
Zertang body career.
Oh,
Zertang body.
Zertambo, Gomboselva, Santi Tamchi. Tabazer, some charges in same thing, Hagora, the Tabazer.
Realizing all sentient beings being one and the same as the Buddhas. First nail, the nail of view. Now the second nail is the nail of meditative concentration, and that is connected with the generation stage practice. Through the practice of this view, when the mind is completely free from the cessation of intrinsic reality, cessation which believes that all appearances are real as they appear, when that happens, then one can see the true nature of mind, which is naturally empty. That realization brings about the pure perception that all phenomena that appear out there are composed of the 5 elements, and these 5 elements are in the nature of the 5 Buddha families, in the nature of their concerts. In the context of the basic nature of all phenomena, nothing is produced. Everything is within the nature of emptiness. From that point of view, all enlightened beings who are free from confusion and samsaric beings who are still confused appear to be one and the same. When that is not realized, one is called a sentient being. But the nature of sentient being is primordially pure. It's in the nature of a Buddha. The Buddha has said, sentient beings and the Buddhas are one and the same. However, sentient beings are veiled by temporary defilements. With this kind of view, when you generate yourself in the form of deity, then gradually that realization includes all phenomena in it. And then everything, whether it is living or non-living thing, is considered like in the nature of deities, in the nature of the 5 Buddha families. That kind of meditation is the second nail.
Jerum Gomjeti, Bella, Tenzi, Maytan Dava, Tell the Debu Longdon Davadi, Madajati, Nimbuzer, there's somebody, Nimbuzer, Bella. Nimbuzer the Bella Tata, fly to Zola. So I gom, Titani, Mountain, Yako Yoko Gongo, Yori, take Kangdilla. Tai slice along the Sao, Jennifer. Tea. Young Motors, I think, I'm to the children on a 70 gin rogo, Yore. Drink hardly a dollar the dog, which is a penna, looking to our tongue. Margaret da, similar thing as it is of Lou, I is some thick neighbors and Latini, new buzzers, so. Madani. There's somebody. Then I'm doing the children called Tiang, Bella the Rank 7 or net at Namto Meona. Then I'm doing days and cortition, Tavang on a yoni, Namto Meonity, suggesting a Tavang on a yoni, Tinkin Palo Cho, Bella, Namto in the Parma Chupa. Then Namto Trochon Yona, then introduce the Zeripati. Then it up and I was then told the Tate. Ta is a tapuching la Tahoya, Trinity, Sadia Tabiela. Then he Cuba Latan Lamo Tabia, Zertini, Cuba Palatini, Trashita Biela, so when you think, come in the Watabia, Gomletini, Cuba Lamo, really Tame Paternity, Cuba, Cho, Bella. Do Zenitri, I Cuba Palatini, Sadia Tabia, Cosong to Salab Tabia Bella. You don't know what certainly Chava Pamana General Tam Gom. 3 gom 3 young Namto Matona, young Tony, young Gombany, 따방하네죠. 남동 총을 때니가 딘다는 땅. 당와 답부시가 산지에 탑제래. 주보고 했다. 네 주바 프로한테는 군도적인 주변인성. 내 곰철도 요래. 내 곰철도 시소나. 근데 당호 빼사오 동시소나. 근데 가디는 빼는 주바 프로지 가디는 람스고저 곰철들이 샘내 연결해 빼나. 근데 소비신 강탐지 차번 주변이 빼나. 너다왜 자체보지 가래리잖아. 당보는 그 독간에 빼나 근데 어제 나가디 너지 팔는 거 어제 다가 틀려. 어제 리리텔라 올해 주변하고 차 타와대 빼나 올해 주다 terrorism도 용가라 줘봐. 토대봐 주변하고 샤디 레리 독간에 되니 올해 니 샤. 대 레리 독간 나나나 대 레리 독간 쪄되니 망도 손에더니 빼나 레리 독간에 팬도디 되니 때 공손에 되니 이니 디 주버팅 종래 라오는 베네 거더니 속기신 강남 자 탐제 땜 제들이라고 남캐 가자로 샘기 가자로더니 주버팅 공게 찹더 사람들이 라면들이 니바니에.
The third nail is the nail of essence, and this nail is again connected with the generation stage practice. This nail is actually the mantra recitation. For instance, in the visualization, usually there is this sit syllable in the center, which is surrounded by the mantra, sometimes clockwise, sometimes anti-clockwise. When you focus your attention on this sit syllable and the surrounding mantra and recite the mantra, that gives you clarity in your visualization and keeps you always in the sense of being a deity. All these mantras, the visualization and recitation is for the purpose of maintaining non-distraction. To maintain non-distraction, in your hand you hold the mala and from your mouth you recite the mantra. That's the nail of essence, reciting the essential mantra. When your mind is focused on the sit syllable and the surrounding mantra, and when you recite the mantra, you can reach the true nature of your mind. And at that point, you can recite the mantra in the view of Mahamudra. In the view of Mahamudra means reciting the mantra by being in the nature of your mind. And at times, when it is not possible to be in the nature of mind, when there seems to be slight distractions, then you can use the fourth nail, which is the nail of proliferation and dissolution. The nail of proliferation and dissolution means when you experience slight distraction in the visualization, you can visualize rays of light emanating from those mantras. And these rays of lights become the 8 auspicious symbols. And also they become the offering goddesses. And the whole thing become an excellent offering to the enlightened beings abiding in the directions. And then from all those enlightened beings, you can visualize raining down syllables and holy objects. And all these syllables and holy objects that descend like a rainfall towards you represent the blessing of the body, speech and mind of the enlightened beings. And they all dissolve into you. So that's about proliferating and dissolving. If there is no distraction at all, then simply keep your mind in the view of Mahamudra, which is the nature of mind itself. This kind of offering is called the cloud of offering of Samantabhadra. If you can get used to these kind of offerings, then you can make this kind of offering at all times, right away. This kind of offering is all-pervasive and it reaches to all Buddhas in the 10 directions. Like the sun shining on a diamond, the syllables in your heart shines many rays in all directions. And on the tip of each ray appears an offering goddess. And those offering goddesses are holding the offerings of the 5 sense objects. And from the heart of each goddess manifest another 2 offering goddesses holding the sense objects. And from the 2 manifest 5 and then 10 and multiplies until it fills up the whole direction. So if this kind of visualization is familiarized, then every time you read in the offering prayer, you can make offerings to the enlightened beings. And that offering will be all-pervasive because your mind will become all-pervasive. And wherever your mind is, there is this offering with your mind. That is kind of infinite offering. And there are some questions here. how does killing someone separate them from their negative emotions, if negative emotions are part of mind, not body?
디 루데 박차라 티는 지오레 루데라다 미소소레 데도 내상 자완 자가 말이 디 박차 루지 주지 루데 박차가 주요레 대년데 레 박차데 속에서 안에 레게서 안에 레제 강에서 뉴모마가 쌓여레 드리다다 되게 변나 드바 용리리 기데 드리 변나 공디 루하 예수고 드바 장네 드리다다디 박차 응게 박차 장게요레 응게 다다 박차게 제름도 공고요레 드니 코도 제름 공고가 맨날 빼라 드니고 마다 못 빨라 되네 드니 코도데 루지 보자 요요레 드니레.
The body is also a creation of the mind. Because of that, each body experiences pain and happiness in different ways. The direct result of habitual patterns, and habitual patterns are results of karmas, and karmas are results of afflicting emotions. So the existence of this body is rooted in the afflicting emotions. So it's a production of the mind. In order to purify all this process of getting a body in the generation stage, there are practices for separating the body, speech and mind from obscurations. So in some cases, some of the beings cannot practice the generation stage. Their mind is not inclined towards it. So to benefit such beings by the power of mantra and great aspirations, certain particular beings can perform the activity of liberating the person from his or her own afflicting emotions. And this act of liberating is called killing the non-virtuous states of mind of that being. Can a Vajrakilaya practitioner actually control the negative beings' rebirth? If so, why don't they liberate all sentient beings in this? Why by transferring their consciousness to the Pure Land?
semki thama tango na penandi drozing diri chokola tago na semki thama tango yore druga na do yore do ta ba cha dire koto kheba diri ni bo khaka ma ji na diri tapu thele matina koto dartup kriyo mare semki thamche dartan darje ba yemele jodon der kore le yega koni le som ko ni thongo ra shiwa jeba wangsum ko ni der kore 대성 좀 더유 까와 매와 탐제들이 자꾸 틀려야 되나 그렇게요래 빼는다다 네 사제게 유다 답답 망보순교 주섬지 사제게 종게 기기 봉보 돈 타매와데 가리 가자가 왕보람데 돈 타요메다 다나 특별한 성거고니 소리 시원들에다는 그렇게요래 특별한 성거 로진요래도 대리리 진도더니 소소다다라는 거 왕불까 봐 때나 드리요래 특별히 좀 구조라는 걸 놓아 니바들이 이거를 뒤다 치빠는데 갖고 치빠를 해야지. 별로지 특별한 바도 다 탐지 다다면서 매치오 농어 종으로 돌로 미루 소수 체게 되네. 대고도 비테는 이 보충종주 돌로 매치모도 공군 좀 먹으러 공로 말해. 고라 주고 말해. 매치모도 돌로 보충종을 깝잖아. 보대 싫어해 별로 되나기. 되니 사제근데 봐 틀려야 되니 무소다고 되는 되니 시랍 침보면은 되니 대좀 사야 요 사지 침바 침보래 대다고 상당 거래.
Those sentient beings who can be tamed by the peaceful, increasing and magnetizing activities do not need to be tamed by the wrathful activity. So there are beings who cannot be tamed by these first three activities, and there is no other way than the fourth activity to employ, for liberating them. It is, for example, if you put, a handful of barley in a grinder. You put the whole thing in there. But if there are stones with the barley, then that grinder cannot actually, grind it. It still remains a stone. In the same way, the Buddha's activities are for all sentient beings equally. But there are particular beings who are extremely negative and with very high afflicting emotions. So, to liberate these kind of beings, highly accomplished practitioner of the fourth activity can kind of forcibly liberate them. There are sentient beings of different acumen, different capacity and disposition. In order to benefit all of them, the Buddha taught countless tantras and methods for practicing Dharma. All these methods are included in the three vehicles. In order to be benefited by a particular activity, the sentient being also has to have some kind of karma on his or her own part. Only then the teaching become effective with that person. So it is not altogether that the Kilaya master is doing everything, but the being who is being liberated has also some karma to be a part of that activity. The teaching that is suitable for a person with low capacity is not suitable for a person with high capacity. For example, it's like cloth. You have to have cloth which equal in the size of the cloth should be equal to your height and your size of your body. If you're big and if you try to wear a cloth of a baby, then it's not going to work. And if you are a baby and try to wear clothes of a huge man, then you are going to die in suffocation. So, therefore, you have to wear a cloth which is, which fits well. In the same way, there are all these various teachings just to make it suitable to sentient beings of different capacities. When some of the more profound, more complex teachings are heard by people with less wisdom, definitely there is doubt and mistrust. About the liberation through wearing, I wanted to give this to friends and relatives to wear, but they are not Buddhist. Rinpoche said wearing it makes negative actions more negative. So is it best not to give it to non-Buddhists who do not understand laws of karma well?
Tete gore. Te kangena dada mgiwan peri so mgiwa de rangshuki penadi chaptang so pa mebe gole mangbo dukho yore. Teni tagdor de dana dikpa chang jiwa de dongko wala na dikho dikpa shiba de dikpa de sosoge kowa thoma meba sa jele mangbo yore ore. Te tamji tagdor jegen jiba de gache songo 다다가 저 먹이wan 팬들을 쏘는데 돈 남바 이거 거는 쏜 거요. 게 가려야 되나. 께땅 되더니 바 매발은 잼네. 기와데 드럽 쳇하고 드럽 먹이와데 빵 쳇하고 빵 거. 뒤선은 사지게 먹이wan 팬도 그래서 먹이와 같이 때던 팬이양 그 매발 동지 핑바다 누바에 핑바 숙치버리 추도 치버리 땅도 떼고 그래. 원래 땅도 떼는 핑바 요래. so simply throw it on a pimbayore. Didn't matter the year, pimbayore. Penalty, town told you, Tagro, Tondro, Dunsun, the Yawatam changing buckets and cork watching it, the cork Dunsun, the da. Shasson Sanipena, the Shasson Savatini, Rapa, Tabla, Benaco. The Trassimo sound, Titan the Tabna, Pingiore, Pena.
It is definitely a great benefit if you, to those people to whom you give this liberation through wearing, because sentient beings accumulate non-virtuous deeds quite spontaneously. And until now in samsara, sentient beings have collected countless non-virtuous deeds by being heedless, by being careless. So when you wear the liberation through wearing, it becomes a kind of reminder for you to be mindful, and that helps you accumulate more and more virtuous deeds by being heedful and mindful. So if you weigh the negative and the positive results from wearing, the positive result is higher. The chance of accumulating virtuous deed is bigger than accumulating non-virtuous deeds. So that is why it is good to give away these things to people. And the liberation through wearing can also be, tied on the necks of animals, not only humans. So the liberation through wearing and liberation through seeing, and the scent from seven mandalas, such as the scent from mandalas blessed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and so forth, can be put on bones of beings who are dead. It can put on even piece of hair and piece of bone after cremation. That also helps a lot for the dead being. Rinpoche, please elaborate on how this pardo, the pardo of life, is in reality the same as the pardo of Dharmata. I believe this, yet find it incredible. How can I get this belief more firmly established in my mind?
Tata pardo number chokti chipare ha kosona. Kari tata de dembar zindere pena. Nyambar kable nyambar de dembar zindere. Te ngupo china pena dembar madra patata shiriore are. Shiji de tse de demba yi pena dang malam manite zumare de. Malam manite yichi yomen. Tse de demba yi za yichi yore de. Oh, sai shava kami tse de da yajiga malam tawen jore ta ni sejum malam ji khadere. 오 제들 힘바요 주 산이야 말람다버전 통고말이 무보 다던데 나기 변해들이 동이 다들 카차 뒤타반 통거래 근데 다다양들이 양검진 셈을 빼놓고 나와 셈좀 오래 셈이 동방 오래들이 양검으로 참말아 중지미와 하래 라그 팀비시도 다탐제 디디디 양태한테 싫라 산이 발도니 오 다다라게 하람 고아섬 차디라 산이 발동 람조 따뜻한 거니 따뜻이 니도도 무슨 돈도 되지 계속만 무슨 나더니 맨날 무슨 일 라워요래 뒤쳐버리 빼나 산지 탑쪽에 저거 찍바리 빼나 이게 중국에서 센다당 서마 발도서 찍다도 끝난 별라지 대 강그 죽은 롱 미적당 산지 탑쪽에 되나 제발 싸바네 요말 참아 찍발 때 되래 되는 체디 대화를 자기요 말 사지 삼게 맨나 어더니 그래.
For the Buddhas, for the enlightened beings, all the 6 different types of pardos are one and the same. But for us, there is a difference. We think that whatever we experience in the daytime is real, and we believe in that very strongly, and we have a lot of fixation to everything that we experience in the daytime. But in the dream, we see all sorts of things, but when we wake up, we realize that it was not true, it was just a dream. But at the time of death, whatever we believe to be real now will seem to be like a dream. So from that point of view, in that context, Lord Jigten Sumgon has said that this life, the pardo and the next life are one and the same, because they are all like a dream, and not really real as we perceive them. So in this life, if you realize the nature of all phenomena, that they are nothing more than the projection of the mind. And the mind which projects the phenomena is empty of any identity. In this kind of realization, if you go beyond all grasping and fixations, then in the state of pardo, when things will appear to be more dreamlike, it will be a very, very big clarity, huge clarity in your realization. Even in one moment, the realization that you have in life, in one moment of pardo, it will be like, it will become very vivid and clear. If you are not satisfied with the answer, you can ask again. How does one lose their drop or thickle? How does one know if they still have it?